All right, so we're on page 17 now. As I said, this is pretty much just a lesson on how to type things into a calculator. And most all of this is going to be super easy because of the fact that you are allowed to and encouraged to use a calculator. I'm going to spit. So let's get this started, and hopefully we'll get out of here within the next 20 minutes or so, and then we can stick around if you guys have any questions. Complex fractions and unit rates. This is chapter 1, lesson 2. Speed skating. Dana is skating laps to train for a speed skating competition. She can skate 1 lap in 40 seconds. Write the ratio in simplest form, comparing Dana's time to her number of laps. So in 40 seconds, whoa. In 40 seconds, she can skate 1 lap. Suppose Dana skates for 20 seconds, how many laps can she skate? So since we have 1 lap here, and that's 40 seconds, if we were to take the numerator and divide it by 2, we would have 1/2 of a lap. We'd have 1/2 of a lap. So write the ratio of Dana's time from exercise 2 for her number of laps. So let me make sure that I am. So we would have, Dana's time for that would be 20 seconds. And that's how long it took her to do 1/2 lap. Now, I have the layout kind of funky on this one, but this is how it would look if I didn't have a huge line going through there. 20 divided by 1/2. Or you could also write it like this, 20 divided by 1/2, like that. So how could you simplify the ratio you wrote in exercise 3? So what we would have is, we would divide 20 by 1/2. We would divide 20 by 1/2. Simplify a complex fraction. Fractions like 20 divided by 1/2 are complex fractions. Complex fractions are fractions with the numerator, denominator, or both that are also fractions. So it's a fraction within a fraction. Complex fractions are simplified when both the numerator and denominator are integers. And remember, integers are whole numbers, whether they are positive or negative. Simplify 1/4 divided by 2. So this goes back into what we did in chapter 4 as far as the concept of a reciprocal. So we have 1/4 divided by 2. And since we are using a calculator, you could just do the 1 ABC button 4th divided by 2. And it's possible that you might need to put each fraction in parentheses. It's safe to put any fraction in parentheses because the computer or the calculator might think that you are doing, when you type in 1/4 divided by 2, if you don't use parentheses, the calculator might think you're doing 1 divided by 4 divided by 2, and that would not work the same way. So we have 1/4 divided by 2. Since we are going to be multiplying by the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2, and we get 1/8. So 1/4 divided by 2 is equal to 1/8. And I did a really bad job of copying and pasting this into the other program. There it is, yeah. So this one here should actually be 1 divided by 1/2. Write the fraction as a division problem. So this concept of examples 1 and 2 is the whole idea of what we're doing for the homework today. So we have 1 divided by 1/2 is rewritten as like this, 1 divided by 1/2. We multiply by the reciprocal, but since we're using calculators, you could just do that and you would be done, and the calculator will spit out 2. Any questions so far? Okay, close that, close. So let's do these problems to figure it out. So we have 2 divided by 2/3. So I'm going to rewrite this for you. 2 divided by 2/3, which is the same thing as 2 multiplied by the reciprocal 3/2. And I'm going to type that into my calculator. I'm going to do 2 multiplied by, open parenthesis, 3/2 equals 3. So put this over here, 3. Same situation here. We have 2/3 divided by 7. 2/3 divided by 7 is the same thing as 2/3 multiplied by the reciprocal, which is 1/7. I type that into my calculator. 2 ABC. Now, if you do not use the parentheses on that, what's going to happen is it's going to come up with the wrong answer, okay? It's going to come up with the wrong answer. You need to make sure that you put the parentheses in it. So if I were typing this into the calculator, what I would need to do is, oh, that's why I did the wrong thing. Maybe not. Okay, well, every calculator is different, but you would come up with 2 21sts. So I could also do it like this, 2 21st, because I just multiplied straight across. For 6 1/3, I'm just going to rewrite it. 6 divided by 1/3, which is the same thing as 6 multiplied by 3/1, which is 3. I type that into my calculator, and I just get 21. Rewriting this, 2/4 divided by 2 is the same thing as 2/4 multiplied by the reciprocal of 2, which is 1/2. If I didn't have a calculator, I know that this is 2 goes into 2, 1, 2 goes into 2, 1, which comes out to be 1/4. Like I said, this is just a calculator usage tutorial, essentially. So here's how it applies to what we did yesterday. Find unit rates. When fractions of complex fractions represent different units, you can find the unit rate. Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in a quarter hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. So what we did is we put the miles in the numerator and the hours in the denominator. So it's 1 1/3 divided by 4. Since we're using a calculator, you can just type that into your calculator and it would pop out with 5 1/3. If you are using a calculator and it gives you a decimal, the way to switch it from decimal to fraction is if you hit the second button and then you hit that ABC button, that will switch it over. So I'm going to do a parenthesis on that just to make sure. 1 ABC 1/3 divided by open parenthesis 1/4, and I got 5 1/3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. So just to be clear, what I did is I typed in parenthesis 1 1/3, close parenthesis, divided by open parenthesis 1/4, close parenthesis. Some of your calculators might not need the parenthesis in those situations if you do the fraction button, but everybody's calculator works a little bit different. Everybody's phone calculator works a little bit different. Tia is painting her house. She paints 34.5 square feet in 33/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? So what you're going to do is you're going to write the ratio that compares the number of square feet to hours. So we have 34.5 in the numerator and 3/4 in the denominator. You rewrite that as saying 34.5 divided by 3/4. What you're going to do is, if you want to do this freehand, which is possible, who knows if your calculator's busted, you would make the mixed number into an improper fraction before you do it. So if you just did this using your calculator like you should be, you would get 46. And since there's words in the question, you have to have words in the answer. And you get, so Tia can paint 46 square feet per hour. At very minimum, you would want to write 46 square feet per hour. Mr. Ito is spreading mulch in his yard. He spreads 4 2/3 square yards in 2 hours. How many square yards can he mulch per hour? So I'm going to take 4 2/3. I need to divide that by 2. If I was doing this longhand, I would need to make the numerator into a mixed number. And just as a reminder, when you have a mixed number, you multiply the denominator by the whole number, and then you add that product to the numerator. So 4 times 3 is 12, and then plus 2 is 14. So you would have 14/3 divided by 2. Then you'd plug that into your calculator, or you could do 14/3 multiplied by 1/2. If you were doing a longhand, 2 goes into 14 7 times, 2 goes into 2 once, so you'd have 7/3, and you would have 2 1/3. So the answer would be 2 1/3 yards squared per hour. Any questions so far? Okay. Next one, Aubrey can walk 4.5 miles in 1.5 hours. Find her average speed in miles per hour. So miles is in the numerator. So we have 4.5 divided by 1.5. 4.5 divided by 1.5. I'm just going to type that right into my computer. I'm not going to do all that work longhand because we don't need to waste that time. So I have 4.5 divided by 1 1/2. And I just get 3. So Aubrey averages 3 miles per hour. 3 miles per hour. So for this one here, with the questions that ever ask about percentages, what they're going to do is they're just asking you to divide by 100. So on Javier's soccer team, about 33 1/3% of players have scored a goal. Write 33 1/3% as a fraction in simplest form. So whenever you have this, the main concept is divide percentages. Ooh. By 100. So we have 33 1/3 divided by 100. Plug that into your calculator and it will pop out 1/3. 1/3. So I want you to please do numbers 1 and 2 for me right now to see, make sure that we, actually, no, let's do this. I want you guys to do number 1 and number 4, please. Right now, go ahead and do number 1 and number 4. All right, so let's see how we did. So for the first one here, I'm going to put my pen on a diet. So we have 18. I'm going to rewrite it as being 18 divided by 3/4. I'm going to plug that into my calculator. 18 divided by 3/4. And I get 24. And remember, whenever you're dividing by a number less than 1, it's going to become a larger number. So you should get 24 for that one. The Pep Club members are making spirit buttons. They make 490 spirit buttons in 3.5 hours. Find the number of buttons the club makes in per hour. So we're finding a unit rate. So we have 490 divided by 3.5, which is the same thing as 490 divided by 3.5. If you're doing that longhand, you'd want to make it into an improper fraction and multiply by the reciprocal. 490 divided by 3 ABC, 1 ABC, 2. So they make 140 buttons per hour. Now this, number 2 and number 3, they're the same exact concept. You just have another fraction in there. And since we're using calculators, I don't think that we need to waste time on that. And it wouldn't necessarily be wasting time if you want me to do it. But if you would like to see those examples, after I excuse you in a couple minutes, I can do those for you if you would like. So the county sales tax is 6 2/3%. Write the percent as a fraction in simplest form. And remember, whenever we're doing fractions, or whenever we're doing percentages, you need to divide by 100. So we have 6 2/3 divided by 100, which is the same thing as 6 2/3 divided by 100. So I'm going to get my calculator. 6 2/3 divided by 100 equals. So when you plug that into the calculadora, tenemos 1/15. And we don't need a unit there because it's, they're just asking us to put a tax into a fraction. So it's 1/15. What is a complex fraction? Well, thanks for asking. A complex fraction is when the numerator or denominator is a fraction. Hello. Only thing that's left in here, I think that's over there. There's a health book, but maybe over there. But those are the only ones. So a complex fraction is when a numerator or denominator is a fraction. And I spelled fraction wrong. Is a fraction. So if you have a fraction in a fraction, that's what a complex fraction is.